My name is Elena Carter, and this is the story of how I destroyed the perfect image my parents spent their entire lives building. To the world, we were the ideal American family. My father, Richard Carter, was a respected financial advisor known for his integrity. My mother, Patricia Carter, was a beloved community volunteer who organized charity, galas, and church fundraisers. We lived in a beautiful two-story house in a quiet suburban neighborhood where everyone waved politely and pretended their lives were flawless. Behind closed doors, my life was not perfect. It was controlled. From as early as I can remember, my parents had already designed my future. I was going to attend Harvard Law School. I was going to marry someone appropriate. I was going to carry the Carter name with dignity. There was no room for discussion. There was no room for dreams that didn't align with theirs. But I had a dream. I wanted to study film production. I wanted to tell stories. I wanted to create documentaries that exposed uncomfortable truths. Ironically, I didn't realize at the time that my first real story would be about my own family. When I was 17, I secretly applied to a prestigious arts university in California. I didn't tell my parents. I knew they would never approve. When the acceptance letter arrived, I felt something I had never felt before: hope. That hope lasted exactly 6 hours. My father found the letter in my backpack. I will never forget the way he looked at me that night. Not angry, not disappointed, disgusted. "You embarrassed this family," he said calmly, which was always worse than shouting. "Film school. Do you want to throw your life away?" My mother didn't defend me. She never did. She just sighed and said, "Elena, you're being selfish." Selfish. That word followed me for years. They forced me to decline the offer. My father personally watched me email the rejection. Then he sat across from me at the dining table and said, "You will thank us one day." But that was the day something changed inside me. If they wanted control, I would give them obedience. If they wanted perfection, I would give them a performance. I enrolled in the pre-law program at a university they approved of. I smiled at every family gathering. I posted carefully curated photos on social media. I played the role of the grateful daughter. And all the while, I was planning. You see, my parents cared about one thing more than controlling me: their reputation. My father's business depended on trust. Families trusted him with their life savings. My mother thrived on social admiration. She couldn't handle gossip, let alone scandal. During my second year of college, I started taking elective classes in digital media and investigative journalism. Quietly, I learned how to research public financial records. I learned how to analyze data. I learned how to tell stories that demanded attention. It started as curiosity. Then it became something else. One night, while working on a class assignment about ethical finance practices, I decided to use my father's company as a sample case study. It was easy. Public information is public for a reason. And that's when I noticed inconsistencies. Small ones at first. Investment returns that didn't align with market trends. Client testimonials that seemed overly scripted. A few complaints buried deep in online forums. I dug deeper. What I found wasn't illegal. Not exactly. But it wasn't honest either. My father had been subtly redirecting clients into funds that paid him higher commissions while presenting them as low-risk, family-focused investments. He never lied outright. He just omitted key details, technically legal, morally questionable, and extremely damaging if exposed publicly. I didn't confront him. Not yet. Instead, I began documenting everything: screenshots, archived web pages, public statements, promotional brochures where he promised client-first strategies. The more I researched, the clearer it became. My father's empire was built on image, not transparency. Meanwhile, my mother was preparing for her biggest charity gala yet. It was going to be featured in a regional magazine. Influential donors would attend, politicians, business leaders, local press. It was going to be the social event of the year, and I was going to be the highlight. Smile, my mother kept reminding me during rehearsals. You represent us. I smiled, but I was no longer representing them. I was preparing to expose them. A month before the gala, I created an anonymous blog under a pseudonym. It focused on ethical finance awareness. At first, I posted general content, statistics, educational breakdowns, advice on reading investment contracts. Then I posted a case study. I didn't use my father's name, but I described a Midwestern financial advisor whose strategies matched his exactly. The post gained traction faster than I expected. People shared it, commented, asked questions. A few even recognized the pattern. I continued posting. Each article was more detailed, more specific. Still no names, just facts. 2 weeks before the gala, a local journalist reached out to the blog's contact email asking for more information about the case study. Advisor, I responded anonymously, providing public documents and encouraging independent verification. I wasn't lying. I was simply connecting dots. 3 days before the gala, the first online article was published. It questioned the ethics of certain commission-based advisory practices in our town. My father dismissed it at dinner. Jealous competitors, he scoffed. But I noticed something different in his eyes. Fear. The night of the gala arrived. The ballroom shimmered with gold decorations and crystal chandeliers. My mother floated from guest to guest, glowing with pride. My father shook hands confidently, as if nothing could touch him. I wore a simple black dress, elegant, understated, invisible. Halfway through the evening, just as my mother began her speech about integrity and family values, whispers started spreading across the room. Phones were lighting up. Notifications. Another article had dropped. This one named names. It didn't accuse my father of crimes. It simply highlighted the discrepancy between his marketing promises and his commission structures. It included client interviews. It included data. It included truth. I watched from across the room as color drained from my father's face. My mother's voice trembled mid-sentence. Within minutes, several guests quietly excused themselves. One of the politicians avoided eye contact. A major donor left before dessert. The illusion was cracking. I didn't approach them. I didn't smirk. I didn't celebrate. I simply stood there and observed what happens when control shifts. The next weeks were chaos. Clients demanded meetings. Some withdrew their funds. Online reviews turned critical. My father wasn't charged with anything, but the damage to his reputation was severe. At home, the silence was unbearable. Do you know anything about this? My father asked me one evening. I looked him directly in the eyes. I've been studying ethics, I said calmly. Transparency matters. It wasn't a confession, but it was close. My mother cried often during those weeks, not because of me, not because of what they had done, because people were talking. That was their worst nightmare. A month later, I received another email from the Arts University in California. My application from 2 years ago had been deferred, not erased. If I still wished to attend, they would consider an updated portfolio. I stared at the screen for a long time. Then I updated my portfolio. This time, I included a documentary short I had secretly produced about power, control, and the cost of reputation. It didn't mention my family. It didn't need to. I was accepted. Again. When I told my parents I was leaving to pursue film, they were too exhausted to argue. Their image was already fractured. They had bigger problems. I hope you're happy, my mother said quietly. For the first time in my life, I answered honestly, I am. My revenge was never about destroying them financially. It was about reclaiming myself. They built their lives on control and appearance. I built mine on truth. Years later, when people ask why I focus on documentaries about ethical, power structures, and family dynamics, I just smile. Because the most powerful stories aren't fictional, they're personal. And sometimes, the greatest revenge isn't screaming or fighting. It's exposure. It's independence. It's walking away without permission. My name is Elena Carter, and this time, my life belongs to me.